Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Here with your Week 14 Thursday night football sit starts a little earlier than usual. Hopefully, we still get a good amount of you here. Got my brother's birthday tonight, so unfortunately, had to go to a party my mom is hosting for him. But ultimately, couldn't leave you hanging in a crucial Week 14, so I wanted to preview the game and, of course, get any questions answered for anybody who is willing to show up a little bit early here. Thank you so much. And if you get here late, feel free to add your question to the comments. I will do my best to get to them all. I already see a mailbag of about 8 to 10 questions. Love to see that as well. Thank you guys so much there. And we got a banger of a game to talk about. The Packers at the Lions with an over-under of 51.5, the highest of the slate, kicking off Thursday Night Football. So we'll preview this game. I got 5 stories that you got to watch that I've prepped up for today. And then ultimately, it will be on to all of your questions for as long as we have them, up till 5:30 tonight, if that's as long as we go. So thanks again so much for being here for this preview. If at any point you enjoy what you're hearing, that thumbs up button, the heart button right early on as well really does help us get out to more people and continue to boost out the Roto Street Journal as we climb and climb and climb. Thank you again so much. Let's dive on in to my prediction for the game. Packers, Lions, divisional showdown, 51.5 over under. Where am I leaning? I've gone back and forth on this all day. You got LaFleur, who's phenomenal, 22-9 against the spread, 18-13 outright as an underdog, and they are 3.5-point dogs here, even with all the injuries the Lions have going on defense. Now, the Packers this year are 0-4 against the spread, against teams with winning records, so that doesn't bode well. And the Lions are 12-3 in their last 15 games against the Packers against the spread as well. 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 home meetings against the Packers as well, which I know is a long time dating back here. The Packers are super hot right now. They've only lost 1 game, that being to the Lions. And ultimately, with health an issue for both of these teams, I think it could be a bigger issue for the Lions. Now, outright winner, I do think the Lions probably pulled this one off. Again, I keep going back and forth, though. But those 3.5 points, that's a lot. A field goal, I think this game will be within a field goal or fewer. And I certainly see worlds where the Packers win this one. I think it's close to a 50-50 shot. So I'll certainly take the points. I'm going Packers 3.5. Still on the fence of whether I'm going to go money line or not with them. I haven't thrown that one in there quite yet. We'll find out. Over under 51.5. Well, the last time these two teams met, we had a 24-14 pretty mediocre day. Very few fireworks. In fact, pretty much none. And so I don't expect that at all, though, with all these defensive injuries now in the dome, not worrying about any type of elements or weather here. I think we reach our ceiling. I think we reach the potential that this type of matchup has. Just looking at last time, though, what happened, we'll quickly preview that. 9.6 for Goff, 14.6 for Gibbs, 12.6 for Montgomery, 18.6 for St. Brown, and LaPorta, 4.8. This is PPR scoring. Very mediocre day for the Lions and even more mediocre for the Packers. 11.9 for Love, 12.8 for Jacobs, 16.3 for Reed was the high scorer of the game. And ultimately Watson, 8.7, Kraft, 7.6. Just a whole lot of mediocre there. But as I was saying, with Jair Alexander out for the Packers, their probably best defender, they're certainly their best secondary member. And then you look at the Lions, pretty much everybody in the linebacker core is out. We already knew Hutchinson was out, but lose another 2 D linemen, key depth pieces, so banged up. So I'm going over. I'm thinking we get a bunch of points tonight, and I'm going to be tossing out. I'll give you the matchup stats, the fact that the Lions are 25th against quarterbacks. I'm going to toss that out the window. The fact that the Packers are 27th against quarterbacks, going to toss that out the window. I don't think matchups matter when you get 2 good teams like this, especially with banged up defenses. I think we're getting a shootout. I'm taking Packers with the 3.5, and I think outright to win. But again, I just keep going back and forth. So why not just take the spread, take the points, and play it safe? The other news is that Romeo Doubs is out, and that will lead into our first story of the day, which can you trust Christian Watson and or Dontayvion Wicks? If you had the choice, which one would you go with no Romeo Doubs? Well, last week without Doubs on Thanksgiving, we saw Reed only play 66.7% of the snaps, 67.9% of the routes. Ultimately still racked up 2 touchdowns, 19.7 PPR points, was the wide receiver, 14 on the week. So you still feel great about Reed. his role didn't grow all that much, but that was also given they were up most of the game. It became a bleed the clock scenario for much of the second half. They didn't need Jayden Reed down there. Meanwhile, Watson, 94.4% of the snaps, 82.1% of the routes. Both were season high by a mile. Now, only garnered 4 targets on their measly, like 10% share. Did have 2 catches for 67 yards, though, in that contest. And ultimately, what I really loved from what I saw, again, just a 12% target share. Don't like that. But a whopping 49% of the air yard share with a 31.3 average depth of target for Christian Watson. My good Lord. Barely missed a connection on a deep touchdown on one of them. And ultimately, Dontayvion Wicks, he did see his role increase as well, 90.7% of snaps, 67.9% of the route. So similar route share to Jayden Reed here. Did see more targets on that limited route share with 5 targets, 4 catches, 30 yards. Another drop. Definitely not the best. And only 17% of the air yards, a 6.4 ADOT there. Average depth of target for Dontayvion Wicks. So ultimately, if I had to pick one of those 2 receivers to fill in, and I certainly don't mind it on a bye week where we have 6 teams on buys, lots of scrambling. I think both these guys are viable, but I would definitely go to Christian Watson first. The snaps, the routes, both seem more stable. And you got a matchup for both these guys against Detroit. They've surrendered the most yards per game to wide receivers on the year, 6th most fantasy points to the position as well. So I have no qualms firing up both of these receivers, but ultimately preferring Christian Watson. Now, of course, Jayden Reed is better than both these guys. That goes without saying. He's a fringe top 10 wide receiver for me this week. He is locked into lineups. Didn't think that one even needed to be asked. But if you have a Jayden Reed question, we got a bunch of them on Thanksgiving, and thankfully, I was pumped on him. I was high on him. I had a 2-touchdown Jayden Reed bet in there for plus 2,200. Love that one. That one ultimately paid out for me. Oh, I had not that you guys care about my props, but I had a 2-touchdown LaPorta, 2-touchdown Jayden Reed, and then I had Malik Neighbors for 2 touchdowns as well. Obviously, that leg did not hit, but it was a $5 bet to win $40,000. And so when LaPorta had his 2, I was like, oh, man, maybe this Thanksgiving I'll be extra thankful. Not quite, unfortunately. I have a Hail Mary, not really that Hail Mary of a bet that I'll toss at you guys in just a second. But ultimately, Jayden Reed just gets it done. He's so efficient. He's such a scorer. And just to give you the bet, I love Jayden Reed for first touchdown tonight, plus 1,200. Put $5 on it to win a quick $60. Why not? We'll see what happens, but I love Jayden Reed. You had a couple touchdown mongers in here between the Lions, so many scores. And then, of course, Jacobs, the way he's been dominating, which we'll be talking about in just a second. But I still think Jayden Reed busted open early against this porous secondary. Still, though, Christian Watson, right there is a fringe top 36 wide receiver for me, especially with all the bye weeks. Definitely feel okay starting him. He's so boom or bust. You don't love it. And the booms haven't been what we've seen in the past when we haven't had one of those like true 30-point days. But hey, why not right now? Why not to push you into your fantasy playoffs, right? So if you have a Christian Watson question, a Dontayvion Wicks question, let me know. Definitely more apt to play Christian Watson, though, if I had to pick between the 2, and certainly okay rolling him out this week where I have him. That is the first story of the day. 240 of you here with us. Just do consider, if you like what you're hearing, you find it helpful, please do consider that thumbs up button. It is so appreciated. Now, we did have a super chat, and you get to cut the line. I will admit that I do not have my moderator here with me because of the early time today. So it might take a couple seconds with the super chats, but I will certainly get to you just like I'm getting to NC Firearms. Thank you again so much. I did not know if everybody would show up at this time change, and yet here you are, still super chatting. You're so generous, NC Firearms, each and every show. You're a legend. Let's get some people on by this week. Would you start Wicks or LaPorta or pick up MVS or Parker Washington PPR flex? PPR settings does make a difference, although when I look at all of your options here, the only one that I could see genuinely benefiting from PPR settings is Parker Washington. He had that 29% target share last week, ultimately has been targeted on 20.5% of his routes since Christian Kirk has been knocked out. Still, though, how confident you be in a tougher matchup with the Tennessee Titans, 5th worst in terms of points allowed to wide receivers, and then Mac Jones as the quarterback. Yeah, he got it to him last week. That's a tough one because I am intrigued by it. I really am. What happened to me, though, I actually like LaPorta, and I guess we could jump ahead here, NC Firearms, to one of our other questions. What about Jameson Williams or Sam LaPorta on the other side? Now, I know you're not asking about JMO, so I'll focus on LaPorta to start for your super chat question here. I kind of like him. 6 targets in 3 straight games, 6 targets in 4 of his last 5 games. This has definitely been a down year. You look at last year, 118 targets for LaPorta, and right now, only 40 through these first 13 weeks, not even going to sniff it. I think it's about his targets per game have cut nearly in half, if not more so far this year, and that volume has definitely taken a big hit on him. It was why we labeled him a potential bust entering the year. Yet we're starting to see it trend up. And not only is it 6 targets in 3 straight games, but he's had at least 1 end zone target in those games. And across the last 5, he has 9 total end zone targets in his last 5 games. And we've seen the touchdowns starting to pour in. He's got 15 or more in 3 of those 5 games as well in terms of fantasy points on the back of some touchdown scoring starting to be produced. You got Green Bay giving up the 9th most points to tight ends as well. They're definitely clamping down at the wide receiver position. And ultimately, I like going LaPorta for your question here, NC Firearms. Let's bring that one back in. All this was to say is he's a top 10 tight end for me this week. And I look at these other options, MBS, 11% target share. Sure, he keeps catching touchdown after touchdown each and every week. But, who do I really feel has a better shot at scoring? I think it's LaPorta. Now, Wicks does very much intrigue me, too, given the matchup, given the ceiling we have seen with him. This is such a quick, tricky question. They're all in that same tier. They all have the upside narratives and upside cases. Of them, my gut leans Sam LaPorta. I do think, again, Parker Washington, the full PPR, if you wanted to take advantage of the scoring, he is the highest floor, it would seem. But how high is your floor really when, 1, you're Parker Washington? Second-year pro, he could be continuing to get better, but he's been largely a nobody until last week. 2, Mac Jones is your QB. Did pepper him 12 targets last time, but still, how confident can we be that will continue over there? So give me LaPorta. I think the stickiest thing is the fact that 2, 2, 1, 4 end zone targets across 4 of the last 5 games for him. I think that red zone volume is here to stay. Plus the snap share, 2 highest snap shares of the year in these past 2 games here, Indianapolis and Chicago. I do like going Sam LaPorta this week. That is where I would lean. Again, a top 10 tight end for me in week 14, NC Firearms. Thank you again so much for your super chat and for your support of the show consistently there, NC Firearms. Now, my second question of the day, and Tunes, I see in the moderator chair. What a legend. Thank you so much for popping in. Uncalled for, just jumping on in and hooking your boy up. So my man Tunes will keep his eyes peeled if there are any super chats and you guys need to cut the line, which will help me continue to just rip off some stats and stories for you. And then it'll be back onto all of your questions. Again, 300 of you here on a random Thursday afternoon. You can't complain about that. Only 13 minutes in. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you like what you're hearing, I know I ask a lot, but it does make such a difference. That heart button, the thumbs up button does go such a long way for us. Now, Tucker Kraft, speaking of the last game without Romeo Doubs, didn't have a huge impact on Kraft, but we did see one of his highest snap shares, 90% of the snaps, 81.5% of the routes, 7 targets, 6 catches, 78 yards with a tight end 11. Not a bad day for him. But when I look at Kraft, I also see 32nd dead last matchup for them. And I wonder how much of that is a matter of the linebackers. They did have a good field stretching linebackers that are all pretty much knocked out at this point compared to just the scheme. Is this something that they just routinely take out tight ends, figure out the outside corners, whatever it might be, the type of coverage shells they run? It's a tricky balance. I don't mind going Kraft. I certainly do prefer LaPorta if for whatever reason you had the option between the two. Tucker Kraft, much more of a fringe. I believe he's my tight end 13 or 14 on the week. I still play him over a fringe waiver guy like Juwan Jennings, for example. Not Juwan Jennings, Juwan Johnson. I like Juwan Jennings, not Juwan Johnson quite as much. Last time these two teams, he only had Tucker Kraft 4 catches, 34 yards. Not too long ago, he had that 0-point dud as well. So I am not thrilled about playing Tucker Kraft. Again, a very fringe top 12 tight end. With so many teams on bye, though, you may need to go there. But it seems like the tight end position is largely unaffected by the byes as a whole. So I don't want to play him. I don't think he's a set and forget tight end at this stage, even with the best snap share, route share, all that stuff increasing. Not a must play for me. Now, we already hinted at a lot of number 3 here. And that, again, was Jameson Williams and Sam LaPorta. Are they must plays on this game? We talked about LaPorta. I do think he is a borderline must play at this point, a top 10 tight end, given the red zone volume, given, again, the steadying out of the targets these last 5 weeks. And the matchup is pretty juicy there for Sam LaPorta. But what about Jameson Williams? How do we feel about him? Well, speaking of good volume, over these last 4 games, 5, 6, 7, and 7, not crazy volume, but you look at the games before that, 1, 4, 2, 3. If 5 targets is guaranteed nearly at this point, and it's not guaranteed with JMO. No, we're not getting the 9 and 11 targets he saw in weeks 1 and 2 and went absolutely berserk with. But we don't need that for JMO. If you could tell me he's getting 6 targets tonight, I'd want him in every single one of my lineups. I know you can't guarantee it, but ultimately he's been rock solid given these last 4 weeks. Nothing crazy, but 8, 22, 11, and 9.6. Very serviceable. You got no Jair Alexander, who's definitely a ball hawk, can really change and dictate how this team can coverage on the outside. And you know Amon-Ra St. Brown will be getting the focal point of the Green Bay secondary here. So I like going JMO. He's a top 26 wide receiver for me. So in most lineups, yeah, I'm rolling him out there at DraftKings at $7,000. Sure, he's the type that could get you 0 and ruin your lineup. He's the type that might need to be your captain because he could have a 22-point day. And my gut's telling me we get a pretty solid 15-plus night out of Jameson Williams. So I like playing him, and as we already covered, I do like playing LaPorta. If I had to decide between the two, probably go for the upside, the ceiling of JMO. Not that LaPorta doesn't have a ceiling. He had 2 touchdowns last week. But still, I do think I prefer JMO if it was a straight-up vacuum for those two. Now, what about the quarterbacks? We're talking about all these weapons, but what about these 2 guys leading very, very impressive overall offenses, but they themselves, Jared Goff and Jordan Love, have been pretty underwhelming these last few weeks. Detroit, not a great matchup for QBs, 25th in points allowed, despite being a top 6 matchup for wide receivers, despite letting the most yardage up to wide receivers on the year. They defend everything else so well, especially running backs, especially tight ends. It's been tough against Detroit overall. But again, I look at a 51.5 and Packers. So Packers even tougher matchup, by the way, 27th in points allowed, 2 quarterbacks. But again, no Jair Alexander, banged up all over the place for Detroit. 51.5 over under. I think this game opens up. I think this game shoots out. I think both of these quarterbacks are top 10 plays this week, despite being very underwhelming. If you just box score watch, you just look at what we've been getting. 6.7, 11.9, 21.2, 14.7, and 19 for Jordan Love. 2 decent weeks, 2 horrible weeks, and then a very mediocre 14. So just 1 top 12 game across his last 5. Not great for Jordan Love. And then you look at Jared Goff, it's been even worse. In his last 6 games, just 1 top 12 game, 15, 9, 12, 34, 10.8, and 16.9. So we did have a blow up for Jared Goff in there. But ultimately, again, it has not been top 12 worthy, but with 4 quarterbacks on bye. I got a question earlier that, my man Seamus, I don't know if you're watching or not, he ultimately asked Jordan Love versus Baker Mayfield. And in a week like this, Mayfield's actually my quarterback 4. And I have Jordan Love right behind him at quarterback 6. So I do go Baker Mayfield over Jordan Love, but he's going to be in most lineups, and most recommendations for me is going to be Jordan Love here. Goff a little bit lower, right around quarterback 10, 11 in my ranks by the time everything's settled. And you can find those at rotostreetjournal.com when things are all said and done. I'll have those updated rankings for you. But I do think both these guys are most likely in 12-team leagues in your lineups. Now, we did get a super chat. Thank you, Tunes, for alerting your boy here. Michael Kocher, thank you so much for your support of the show. I greatly appreciate it. We got McConkey, Neighbors, Judy, need 2. Brees or Tracy at running back? Awesome question. Thank you so much, Michael, for your support. Now, it's tough because we don't know McConkey's status yet. There's a real chance that he just doesn't play, and this isn't even a question for you. And what's tricky about him, too, is it's a Sunday night game. So unless he's starting to trend really, really well, I'll give you both scenarios. Obviously, if McConkey's out, you have a very easy one. You just go Neighbors and Judy. Now, if we know McConkey's going to be in, guaranteed, I probably do play Neighbors and McConkey over Judy. I know that sounds nuts after a 295-yard output. Now wide receiver 5 in total yardage on the year, thanks to Jameis Winston, not thanks to Judy. Tough matchup against the Steelers coming up, but it was a tough matchup against the Broncos too. Just no revenge game motivation here. I do rank these guys currently, Neighbors, then McConkey, then Judy. But ultimately, if we don't have any clarity around McConkey come Sunday morning, the backup plans get pretty ugly for Sunday night. Monday night, nothing sexy there either. And Judy is a top 20. He's wide receiver 20 for me. I'm +5 ECR on him. So I love Judy this week. It's more so I just really like Neighbors and McConkey that much more. So I do have Neighbors McConkey higher. If everything's trending the right way, McConkey limited practice, full practice, okay, he's going to play. Great. If there's any sketchiness come of Sunday, like he's a true game time call, anything like that, I don't think it's worth waiting it out for a backup plan. There are some receivers, a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, where it's like, okay, I'm going to wait this out. If I have to play Jermaine Burton tonight, so be it, because Jamar Chase is worth it. McConkey's been great. He's been lights out lately. Still not worth ultimately risking your Sunday. And when you have Judy as that fallback plan, that's great. So I think Neighbors is locked in either way. And it just comes down to what type of news are we getting, Michael, throughout the week. In terms of Breece or Tracy at running back, so it might shock people, but I'm going Tyrone Tracy here. Breece Hall coming off a season-low 52% backfield share last week. Only had one of the 6 running back targets. Even Isaiah Davis is mixing, and he vultured a touchdown. And Breece might not play as well. He did not practice yesterday. So, again, your question might – I appreciate the support, Michael, but your question might just be answered by the injury report, and you just gave me a layup here. But even if Breece does play, I'm going Tracy. One, the injuries concerns me. He did not look all that explosive. 2, the workload concerns very much concern me too. And then Tracy as a solid matchup this week. I am +5 ECR on Tyrone Tracy this week. And so ultimately, that is where I lean at running back. I have Tracy about 3 spots higher in my ranks, and I feel very confident in him. It seemed like they kind of, Singletary worked himself in a little bit there early, and then they were like, all right, we're way better when we have Tyrone Tracy in our lineups. Let's get back to cooking with him. And so, yeah, I like going Tyrone Tracy in this one. All righty, guys. Let me now pull up the last few stories. Thank you again, Michael. Thank you again, NC Firearms, each and every week supporting your boy. The last question I have here is, Josh Jacobs a must-play, right? You look at what this guy has done these last, really all season, but especially since week 8. Josh Jacobs has totally picked it up. 20-plus PPR fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games. The only time he missed it was against these Detroit Lions. Although it's not these Detroit Lions anymore, because we keep alluding to the fact that they have injury after injury to the D-line, to the linebacking core. So only put up 12.8 against them last time. But, man, how could you bench Josh Jacobs the way he has been running? Again, 20 in 5 of his last 6. And ultimately, with all these injuries at the position, and it really has been a solid volume bump. He's seen 66% of the rushing attempts, 75% of the running back rushes since week 8. That's up from 55 and 66% respectively. But the big moneymaker has been the goal line volume. 95% of the Packers running back opportunities inside the 5-yard line. Ultimately, he leads the NFL, other than Kyren Williams, number 2 in the NFL in both inside the 10 and inside the 5 carries for Josh Jacobs right now. And so with that goal line volume, that type of scoring prowess, he has been an absolute monster. He's a great safe bet for first touchdown scorer tonight. I personally do like going Jayden Reed, catching a bomb, opening things up, and making this game fun. So we go after that total. But yeah, I really, really like him so far. So yeah, you have absolutely. Josh Jacobs is a must play. Nothing crazy there. You guys are probably like, yeah, duh, Wolf, rolling your eyes here. But ultimately, yes, I am playing Josh Jacobs with zero hesitation. I know they're 31st in terms of points allowed at the Detroit Lions, but this is not the same Detroit Lions that we would normally worry about. And that wraps up the 5 storylines that I had for this game. We are now moving on to the mailbag and whatever questions we get. Thank you. We got 500 of you here a half hour in. That I thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to go as many questions as you guys have, but as 500 of you are here, that thumbs up button will help us get out to more people. It would be so greatly appreciated. Would be more than happy to talk about anything you guys have, whether it's Thursday night football questions, whether it's preparing for the playoffs and defenses in your fantasy leagues. I had a big show. It would definitely pump it out. My waiver wire show went really in depth. There's a clip on the YouTube channel as well. Any new subs would be greatly appreciated about our defensive game plan. And I really broke down who has the best schedule, spoiler, all the crappiest defenses in the NFL. And then also, who are some good defenses that have fair enough schedules? And one of them, I'll just give you, so you don't have to go all the way back to that video, is the Green Bay Packers. And I think they're going to get dropped in a lot of leagues because, yeah, they're facing the Detroit Lions, the worst matchup for fantasy defenses. But after that, they got 3 straight top 12 matchups. Not quite like Cincinnati, who has 3 top 4 matchups, but ultimately sucks. So I really like going the Packers. They are the fifth highest scoring defense in fantasy points per game. Don't want to play them tonight. I hope this is not getting heard. Somebody jumps in playing the Packers defense tonight. No. You don't want to play them tonight at all. But I do like rostering them right now. I think they're going to be out there in a lot of leagues because they're facing the Lions, and a great stash for your fantasy playoffs would be that. They're the best in terms of the set and forget. Now, there's other ways to play it. The Chargers in week 17, and then you get the Bills. I've seen the Bills get dropped in a bunch of leagues. I'm going to be scooping them up as much as possible. Yeah, to get the Lions in week 15, but if you have a bye, or if you can just scoop up the Ravens who are getting dropped a lot, they face the Giants next week. There's definitely some ways to pair it. So check out that video if you want some defensive preparation help. That's really a way to separate yourself when it's the cream of the crop and there's so few ways to gain true advantages. One of the easiest and really most available ways is stacking up on defenses. Well, let's dive on into the mailbag. Yoso and Tony here at 12:46 p.m. getting this question on in. Thank you so much for your support, Yoso and Tony. Always showing up to these shows and then showing up, tenting out 5 hours before we kick off. 3 hours, my math. There you go. I don't teach math, folks. Hey, Wolf, PPR, need to start to Dowdle, Hall, Tracy, or Pacheco. Thank you. So I think Tracy's the best option. We already had a Tracy versus Breece Hall question, and I went with Tracy in that one. And I am leaning Dowdle. Again, I am pretty down on Breece Hall at the moment. Now, I'd love to say Pacheco with confidence and tossing out there, but 1, the Chargers matchup, not great. And then 2, I just don't see them unleashing Pacheco till the fantasy, not even the fantasy playoffs, the real life NFL playoffs. I imagine Kareem Hunt is kind of that more disposable. They're winning, and why wear down Pacheco right now? Let's get his legs under him. Let's get him cooking a little bit. But we're going to save this guy for the playoffs, so he is just unleashed. And I imagine, in your playoff best ball drafts, I'll be doing a few of those streams once those contests do get released here. I'm going to love Pacheco on those. That's when, we saw Travis Kelce get rested throughout the year and play about 70% of snaps, and then boom, back to Travis Kelce in the playoffs. I think that's going to happen with Pacheco. But for your actual fantasy season right now, I don't know that we're going to be able to use him the rest of the year. We'll see. I'm not saying cut the guy. Of course, if he comes out here and has 75% of the rushes this week, yeah, I'll love him the rest of the season. But I just don't see that happening. At minimum, I need to see it before I trust it. That is not one where I will be a week too late before I'm a week too early type of situation. So I like Tracy. I like Dowdle, the way he took over that backfield. Zeke continues to become more and more of an afterthought, Yoso Tony. So, yeah, I'm going to go Tracy very confidently in that matchup. And then ultimately, I'm going to go Rico Dowdle very slightly over Breece. I know this is risky, but again, Breece didn't look like Breece. Lowest workload of the season. And he might not even play this week the way his injuries are trending with a lost season here. I would not be surprised to see just Breece down. The Jets are dead at this point. My man Papasarno helping fill the mailbag. I greatly appreciate it, brother. Might be a dumb one, but to start half PPR, Grendo or Monty? I don't think that's a dumb one. I do think it's Monty. And Monty's just too safe and steady. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say Isaac Grendo had a bigger ceiling, though. We're talking about, and I'm guessing we'll get a bunch of Isaac Grendo questions throughout this week here. I am a few spots below CR, and it's more so I just like the guys ahead of him than anything against Grendo. We've only seen one game of this guy get a meaningful workload, 61% of the snaps in week 8. And what did he do? 19 fantasy points, running back 11 on the week. And so far this season, one thing he has an edge on over ultimately Jordan Mason, who obviously performed admirably. I'm not trying to sit here and dump on Jordan Mason's grave at this point, but Isaac Grendo did get targeted on 14% of his routes so far compared to 9% for Jordan Mason. That shows a level of potential ceiling that we just didn't have with Jordan Mason. And Isaac Grendo, we're talking a guy at 4.33 speed at 220 plus pounds, 100th percentile type of speed score here. Very rare athlete in a scheme that we've seen it with Raheem Mostert, who Kyle Shanahan compared Isaac Grendo to in the preseason. We've seen the way that these lanes open up and a speedy guy. We've seen Garendo burst through for 70-plus yard runs and then fall at the end zone because he's a team player. I mean, this guy has so much upside. If he's going to be getting 15 to 20 touches in one of the best schemed run games, that when you find a lane, this guy could be gone. Now, Trent Williams being out, the line banged up, defense kind of sucking. There's been a lot of injuries that don't make it quite the guaranteed no-brainer. But I do really like the upside of Grendam. I know I'm hyping him up only to then come out and say, yeah, but I also like David Montgomery more. And I do. David Montgomery is just so safe, so steady. I know he didn't score last week, and it was a little bit of a dud as a result there. But, I mean, you're still getting 14 last week, 15, 23, 12, 11, 14, 7 is a season low, 21, 15, 20, 15, 16. That's a floor that I just cannot – I need to have that in my lineup. Unless you were a severe underdog and you needed an injection of upside, I'm going to go Monty in that safest floor in all of fantasy. We dig in another super chat. My man, Papa Sarno, asking LaPorta or Kraft. Thank you so much for the super chat, Mr. Chris Sarno over there. Now, I know we talked about these guys a little bit earlier, and if it didn't come off clear enough, I do prefer Sam LaPorta tonight. 6 targets in 3 straight games, 6 targets in 4 of the last 5. 9 total. No, actually 11, I believe it is. No, 4, 9. Yes, it was 9. And math was correct the first time. 9 total end zone targets in the last 5 weeks as well. 2+ end zone targets in 4 of the last 5 games. I think LaPorta is on that type of groove. The volume is finally coming back, not quite to last year's levels, but also looking far more close to that tight end we saw last year than the one we've seen for the majority of this season. Seems fully healthy, coming off 2 93% plus snap share days. I prefer LaPorta here. I like Tucker Kraft, but this is the worst matchup for tight ends. Again, with the injuries, maybe we just toss all matchup stuff out the window, but it could be scheme-related as well. And even if it's not, there's never a guarantee with Tucker Kraft. He had 0 points just a couple weeks ago. And I just think LaPorta, I think the touchdown bet's better. I think the volume bet is pretty equal here. And I'll go for the guy that I'd rather, that I think has a much better shot at scoring. So give me Sam LaPorta over Tucker Kraft. Even though I like Tucker Kraft, I like what he's been doing this year. 2 touchdown or bust kind of options, but I think LaPorta has a little more juice to actually score this week. Thank you so much, Papa Sarno, for your support of your boy. And thank you, NC Firearms and Michael, again, for your super chats. It's so greatly appreciated. Then we have Hurts or Burrow for Craig. Ooh. That's a pretty tough one because you had a great matchup for Joe Burrow. But then you got Jalen Hurts against Carolina, which is also a great matchup. So I'm going to go with Hurts, I think. I mean, you're talking about my 2 and 3, Papa Sarno. And again, it's not one of those things where I can just be here like, yeah, you can't lose. Go with whoever you like. I get it. Someone's going to be right. Someone's going to outscore the other. And quite frankly, you look at Jalen Hurts' last few games compared to Burrow. 19, 15, and 18 for Jalen Hurts. Quarterback 15, 15, and 16. Very ho-hum, very mediocre there. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow, all he's done is just light up fantasy week in and week out. 30, 34, 29, 20 last week. Oh, just 20. That's better than anything Jalen Hurts has done across his last 3 games. Still, gun to my head, who do I think is going to score more points this week? I do think it's Jalen Hurts. Carolina can be run all over, and I think this is a week where we get like Jalen Hurts 3 touchdowns on the ground type of situation. Maybe Saquon just volumes it all and takes it all for himself. Very possible. That's the kind of the risk with Jalen Hurts. That's why he's not quite the quarterback in fantasy that we had last year. I'm going Hurts over Burrow in that one. And last one for Mr. Sarno, half PPR sit one. Jennings, Harrison Jr., Tracy, Garendo. Thanks. Smash that like button. Indeed, 630 of you here. Please do consider that thumbs up button, that heart button. It really does help us out so much. So greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Indeed. I think I'm sitting. I'm definitely doing the 2 running backs. I'm playing Tracy. I'm playing Garendo. Jennings versus Harrison Jr. gets tough. It is a tough Chicago matchup for Juwan Jennings, but now CMC's out. They're going to need somebody else to step up in this offense. Harrison Jr., though, starting to come along a little bit himself. I think I'm going to go with Harrison here to play. I'm going to bench Juwan Jennings. Very tough question, Craig, but that is where I lean. Lucio, what's going on, Lucio? Love or Baker? That's the exact question that Seamus asked me. And I told him Love at first. That was my knee-jerk reaction. 11 bombs away tonight in a 51.5-point over-under. I'm going Baker, though. Raiders stink. He's my quarterback 4 on the week. And I know Baker has been a little bit underwhelming these last couple, but he still has been a fantasy juggernaut all year, even without his number 2 weapon. Number 1, number 2, whatever you want to call it, Chris Conley. Number 1, really, this year. We've seen him getting it done week in and week out. So I do prefer Baker just a little bit here to Jordan Love. And then we got half PPR flex, Najee or MHJ. I'm leaning Najee, I think. Slightly, not clearly confidently, but I do think Najee a little bit safer there. And half PPR Charbonnet or Tracy if Ken Walker's out. I don't think Walker's going to be out. There's not much concern there. And so I'm going to go Tyron Tracy very, very easily. Now, if Walker's out, we've seen it with Charbonnet, 40 touches to just 3 touches for Kenny McIntosh, 19.5 and 20 points in those starts. So he's a rock-solid starter. We can revisit this one on Sunday, Lucio, if Walker's already out. But ultimately, I'm going to go Tyron Tracy for that one. Tunes, I was wondering how you were like just jumping in here, ready to mod. I was like, is this guy at school with his prep period? He's just looking for something to do? Hell yeah. But no, snow day in Maine. So let's effing go indeed, Tunes. Love to see it. Thank you so much for just hopping in and taking over the mod duties with me over here. Brother, I'd greatly appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed your snow day. We did not get one here. I didn't even get a delay here in Mass. I know some, like Worcester, some places did get hit and have snow days, but not where we are right now. Sean M. asking, PPR, should I start Watson or Hubbard? This is a tricky one. I do really have a good feeling about Watson tonight. I have a hard time sitting Hubbard. I know he's coming off a bad dud here. And it's not a great matchup against the Eagles. That's a tough D-line to be running against. So maybe, only 2 points last week. Sheesh. 43 yards, 12 carries, a fumble. Oh, boy. Maybe you do just, Sean, go for the blow-up with Watson. I had Chuba ranked as a top 22 running back, and I'm not really liking that right now. Man. I think it's just because I feel so good about Watson, especially in full PPR. It's just so tough. Like, Hubbard's been rock solid. One of the best picks you could have made. 15, 23, 28, 11, 13, 16, 20, 25. I mean, rock solid, like a Montgomery Light with a little bit more of a ceiling there, even for Chuba Hubbard. So it's one of those things where you see that 2-point dud and you're like, ooh, what is he more apt to do? What he's been doing all year? Or are we like seeing a changing of the guard? Plus, we got a tough matchup here against Philly. I'd probably lean. Oh man, I'd probably go Hubbard still and play into just what he's done all year and hope he finds the end zone. He's had some tough matchups and he's played okay. No, I'm going back and forth in my head, Sean. My gut keeps saying Watson. So, hey, I'm going to go Christian Watson there. And then we got Daniel Maldonado from Mexico. And yes, indeed, please do remind me where you guys are coming from as you continue to build up the mailbag here. Should I start Evan Ingram or Sam LaPorta? Tough one here. I had Evan Ingram higher in the ranks. I think by the end of researching this, I am going to adjust Evan Ingram and put him just below Sam LaPorta. He didn't get much done last. The volume's been fine with Mac Jones, 9, 7, 8, 10. I mean, that's never been a concern for Evan Ingram. What is the concern is the lack of production. 9, 7, 5, 8. That's fine, but it's not great. So I do think I'm going to go Sam LaPorta on this one, Daniel, and go for the touchdown bet at that point. MVM, Mevele Madre, HN, K. Williams, Tracy, Dowdle, Evans, London, JSN, Jennings. Start 5, please. All right, so how many do we have to bench is probably the easier way to think of this. I'm not benching HN, not benching Kyron Williams. So there's your 2. I'm not benching Evans, not benching London. You got a stacked roster here, MBM. So we need one more of Tracy, Dowdle, JSN, and Jennings. So to me, it comes down to Tracy or JSN. And JSN is just too dang hot. So I'm going to play him. And I'm benching Dowdle and Jennings. Those would be the 2. And Tracy as well. So HN, Kyron, Evans, London, JSN is who I'm going with for this one. And then Herbert, Wilson, Winston, or Levis, pick one. I think I like Herbert, assuming Ladd's in. Otherwise, I'm going to Winston, baby. Warren or Tracy for Daniel. Oh, you got to play Tracy. Come on. Warren, okay. I mean, talented back, but clear timeshare. Tracy's the lead guy. As MVM says, yeah, you're going Tracy in that one. Herbert or Caleb? I'm going Herbert. I just don't trust Caleb Williams at all. I know he's had 2 good games in a row. Not for me. Over on points, but I think the Lions cover and win, says Matthew Wilder. Hey, differing opinions. We both agree on the over on points, which means hit the under, guys. No, but I definitely agree on the over. I do not think the Lions cover. I ultimately think the Packers at least cover and have a real shot to win this one on the road, given those injuries on defense. We got Riley asking, pick one, Elijah Moore, Westbrook-Ikhine, or Keon Coleman. I am going to go Debo. I think he's going to end up ultimately benefiting the most out of this absence of Christian McCaffrey. I think we're going to see more backfield snaps there for Debo, kind of as we were seeing in the beginning of the year. So I'm leaning him. If Cedric Tillman misses the game, I could see Elijah Moore. We all know Westbrook-Ikhine in that touchdown streak, 8 touchdowns on 20 catches. I keep feeling it's going to flop at some point, and it doesn't. So I get it. And you got the Jags matchup for Westbrook-Ikhine, which is beautiful, but I just think Debo, no CMC. He gets the role evolved a little bit. That's kind of where I'm leaning Riley, but he has stunk lately. So I don't know. If you really wanted to pivot to Westbrook-Ikhine and just ride that hot streak, I get it, but I would go Debo there myself. Tunes, I have Andrews and Hunter Henry on bye and need a tight end streamer. Who would you pick up? Disley, Juwan, Conklin, or Foster? I like Juwan here. I was a big fan of Disley, but kind of disappearing these last couple of weeks. I mean, if Ladd's out, he could be one of the main weapons in this offense, but I'm going to go Juwan here. It is a good matchup, though. The Chiefs have been bleeding points to tight ends. But Juwan coming off a season-best target share, season-best route share. Now Taysom Hill is gone. That's 17 and 10 touches past 2 weeks. So I'm going to go Juwan there, Mr. Tunes. What up, Giuseppe? Start Miami D or Buffalo D? I think I'm going Buffalo D, Giuseppe, mostly because they're close enough in the rankings. I have Buffalo even a couple spots higher, and then you get the bonus of Week 16 against the Pats, Week 17 against the Jets. A beautiful playoff defense there for Buffalo, both those games at home as well. So not only are you getting a good 1 week stream, the Rams a tougher matchup, sure. Yeah, the Dolphins and the Jets probably better on paper. It might outscore them this week, but if we're thinking long-term here, Buffalo not only is just about equal, but then also has that long-term upside, and they're much better as an overall defense too. Fergie or Disley? So we got to find out if Fergie's playing first. But with that matchup against Cincy and the way Cooper Rush is starting to turn it up a little bit, kind of like Fergie there, assuming he is in. Geno or Russ? I like Russ there. It's a Cleveland defense that is just bleeding big play after big play. I look no further than this last Monday night game, right? So I'm going to go Russ on that one. That's his specialty, those bombs. Tomas, what's going on from Panama, baby? Ola Loba, play JMO tonight or wait for Marv and JSN on Sunday. PPR Gracias. I like Marv and JSN just slightly ahead of JMO tonight. Very close, very tough. And this is the type of game environment where JMO, could open up everything and make this thing go bananas. But yeah, I have Marvin and JSN just a bit above JMO myself. J Stacks, what's going on? 10-3, 12-man PPR. Running back room is depleted. 10-3, and these are the backs we got to pick 2 of. Good Lord. Hunt, Vidal, Spears, Akers, or pick up Homer Corum or Patrick Tyler. All right. Oh, boy. I lean here. Spears is one of them. They get the Jags. Could just rip a big play. When I'm looking at this, J Stacks, this is kind of how I play these hideous situations. And I don't mean to insult you, but it's hideous. I like to go for the guys that if something happened in the middle of the game, like which one of these guys would truly light it up and then carry humongous upside down the stretch. So I like Spears the most here. And then I think I'm leaning to Corum myself. Again, just one of the top 5 handcuffs in general. Buffalo Bills, a great matchup. Maybe they feed him an end zone carry, try to get him going. I would rank the options for myself. Spears, then Corum, then Taylor is how I would rank the ones I would actually play. Because you're also baking in some contingent like rest of season upside. That's what I want to do when I'm rolling the mud like this. Like, give me somebody, because you look at Spears' rest of season schedule, pure gravy. Corum, not a bad schedule and would be a top 5 running back should anything happen. Not top 5. I'm getting aggressive there, but like truly a fringe running back 1 if something happened to Kyron. And Patrick Taylor, like, what if Correndo doesn't look good? What if he gets banged up? He was hurt throughout the beginning of the year. Maybe you got your 49ers lead back there. So those are the 3 that I would lean J Stacks. Giuseppe Russo, Pitts, or Freiermuth. I'm going Freiermuth. Screw Kyle Pitts. He sucks. No more analysis than that. F Kyle Pitts. Cut that guy. Brett Storm, and we are at 760 of you, 45 minutes in. Let's go, Wolfpack. Greatly appreciate so many of you, again, joining here on a random Thursday with an early start. You love to see getting out to so many people still. So greatly appreciate it. If you do like what you're hearing, please do consider that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter. Any likes, shares, and retweets really do go such a long way. Brett needs 2 for this week. Elijah Moore, Leggett, or Westbrook Akini. I'm benching Leggett here. Eli Moore with Jameis cooking the way Jameis is cooking right now. I cannot bench him for these other 2. And then Westbrook Akini. I know it's at some point, Cinderella the Pumpkin's going to come and arrive on Westbrook Akini, but 8 touchdowns since week 6. I mean, since DeAndre Hopkins got traded, we got an 18% target share. Not bad, but it's all in the end zone. 17 yards per target as well. Westbrook Akini just makes play after play after play. I cannot go away from that for Leggett, who just is also boom bust, but booming far less than Westbrook Akini is right now. Jordan Hannon, start Watson tonight or Cade Otton? I'd go for Watson, I think. Cade Otton had his run, and it was beautiful, but as soon as they got film on him, as soon as Evans came back, that one's really starting to wind down, and it's back to like Cade Otton being Cade Otton. So give me Watson in that one, Jordan. I think he has much more blow-up upside today. All righty. We have Riley asking Caleb or Baker. I'm definitely going Baker over Caleb. I have no faith in Caleb. I know he's had those 2 good games. He's not a guy I want leading my fantasy team. I feel like he's going to abandon me the second I trust him. DJ Moore could be out Sunday. I did not see that one, Andrew Yunker. Is that a new report? I'm going to quickly scan that news because this is new news to me. Remains sidelined from practice Thursday. I thought that was just kind of like maintenance day. He had that monster, 8-catch, 97-yard TD day. I thought this was more just rest, but I bet you we get a limited in. He plays Friday. This is more maintenance. He had that tough hit, but it's tough, Andrew, because Moore, since Thomas Moore took over, the offensive coordinator, has been lights out. And I guess it would come down to Yunker. If Moore sits, you don't play J-Mo tonight, who's the next man up for you? So I don't mean to give you a non-answer, but if that guy's even close to the top wide receivers, I would wait this one out. If he's not, if you're looking at like a pivot to, let's say, like Ray McLeod, yeah, I'd play J-Mo tonight. I'd roll those dice. But assuming you have an Elijah Moore, Christian Watson to play, maybe even Nick Westbrook Akini, right? If that's kind of your backup plan, okay, I'll wait it out for DJ Moore. We did have a super chat, so I want to make sure to get to Mr. Luis Perez. Thank you so much for the super chat, Luis. Sorry I missed that one. Where do you rank Moore if Tillman is out? Yeah, Tunes missed that one. Come on, Tunes, wake up over this snow day. A little too much greenery on your snow day? Come on. Where do you rank Moore if Tillman is out or Thielen? So Moore versus Thielen if Tillman is out. I do prefer Elijah Moore, I think. I mean, we have Thielen coming off one of his best game of this year for sure. 25% target share, 10 targets, 9 catches, 100-yard TD. Looking beautiful in that game. Matchup against Philly, not great, though. Yeah, Cooper DeJong manning that slot where Thielen's played 80% of his snaps. So I don't love the matchup this week for Thielen. I love the rest of the season schedule. I think he could be a difference maker in your fantasy playoffs. But I do think Elijah Moore, if Tillman is out, would get the nod for me in that case, Luis Perez. But it is close. Again, Thielen really cooking. And we saw last year, I mean, this guy was the number one receiver from weeks 2 to week 7. Like that 6-week span where he just went absolutely bananas, completely bonkers. So I think that is well within the range of outcomes for the stretch run. He has the fresh legs. He looks like that guy again. I just think the matchup against Cooper DeJong and the Eagles really does scare me. They move him around enough that you could probably shake free. But as long as Tillman's out, I do think I'm going to lean ultimately to Elijah Moore. Sorry. Alrighty, we left off. I was just trying to find my place again. We were at Giuseppe Russo, and thank you again, guys, for your super chats. It is so greatly appreciated. Sorry, that one took me a couple minutes, Lewis, to see pop up. Tunes is sleeping at the wheel at the moderator. No, Tunes, I'm just messing with you. Flex, pick one, half PPR, Debo, Rashad White, or Dowdle. I lean Dowdle in that one, Giuseppe. He really has taken over this Cowboys backfield. He looks pretty good doing so. And Cincinnati, not a great defense at all. So yeah, Tunes is typing a question. Fair enough, Tunes. Fair enough. I'm just messing with you too, brother. So yeah, I'm going to go Rico Dowdle, again, taking over, about a 70% snap player at this point in this backfield. And the offense seems to be gaining its legs. And Cincinnati is certainly a team that they'll move the ball against plenty fine. So coming off a 20-point day, yeah, I'm gonna ride with Dowdle. Tony, what up? Do I play Christian Watson tonight? And then if CD goes Monday, play him over Najee or Bowers. So you got to get Bowers in the lineup. I don't know who your tight end is, Tony, but you got to have Bowers in. So if you have like Trey McBride and Bowers or Kittle and Bowers or Kelsey and Bowers, okay, great. You're playing 2 tight ends, and we're not even thinking about this one. So, and then if CD goes Monday, play him over. No, I would not. You got good options between Najee, Bowers, CD, Tony. Like, does Christian Watson intrigue me tonight? Sure. Could he score 30 out of nowhere? Sure. He's done it many times before. I would play any of CD, Najee, or Bowers over him. So if you have all 3 of those guys as your backup plans, and then you actually bench one of those guys for Christian Watson, no bueno. Yeah, I'm not playing Watson over any of those 3. No doubt about it, Tony. Hello, guys from Mexico. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you again. Should I start Jennings or Shakir and Ingram or LaPorta? So I think we already answered the Ingram LaPorta one with LaPorta. And I would go Jawan Jennings very slightly over Khalil Shakir, Daniel Maldonado. Watson or Otten, or I can pick up Trey Tucker. It's not Trey Tucker. I'd go Christian Watson there, Jordan Hannon. I do think he has a ton of upside against a Packers defense giving up the most yards to wide receivers, coming off 93% of the snaps, 81% of the reps, both season highs. I'm liking Christian Watson and his usage lately. Tunes, Neighbors limited at practice day. I mean, he's always limited with something, and it's kind of becoming part of the headache with Malik Neighbors, but you got New Orleans without Lattimore at this point. Yeah, I got to play anybody going against them. Alejandro Corona, Purdy, Levis, or Winston, and who should I drop? I drop Levis. That's pretty easy for me. And I play Winston, actually. I'm admittedly, Alejandro, 8 spots higher on Winston in the ECR. I just don't get why the guy gets no respect. Tough matchup against the Broncos, throws for 500 yards. Tough matchup against the Steelers coming up. I think he's going to be fine. This guy, he had that blizzard against the Steelers. I talked about him on the waiver wire show. But if you remove that blizzard game, which he still had like 13 fantasy points compared to like 4 for Russ, he still was getting it out there. But you take that away, and this man is averaging 365 passing yards across his 4 starts. He's had 330 or more in 3 out of 5 starts. And again, really 3 out of 4 when you take the blizzard game out of there. Absolutely slinging. He's always been, Winston, a fantasy factory. So sure, the Steelers matchup stinks. So did the Broncos, and this guy had 40 fantasy points. So I'm going to ride the Winston train right now. I just don't like the Chicago matchup either, Alejandro. Watson or Otten, we keep getting that one somehow, and it's not repeat questions. But yeah, I'm going Watson. I'm not changing my answer no matter how many times you guys ask me. I'm sticking with Watson. Better playoff defense, Tampa, Atlanta, or Indy? Giuseppe, how about neither? Have you watched the video yet? I have a whole video about defensive streamers. Atlanta, 28th in fantasy points per game. No thanks. Tampa Bay, their back secondary is absolutely horrendous. I think if you do have, I did mention Indy, because if you have a week 15 bye, they get 2 top 3 matchups in back-to-back weeks in weeks 16 and 17, rather, your semis and your championship. So I like Indy. I just don't love them. I'd rather have the Chargers in week 17 against the Pats. I'd rather have the Bills in week 16 against the Pats. There's other defenses, and I'd rather have the Packers all the way throughout the defenses with 3 straight top 12 matchups. Those guys are gone, and you can kind of find that the Arizona Cardinals, I love them as well. Another defense that has like 3 good matchups in a row, and it's sneaky, like 4 straight 11-point days, 5 sacks in like 3 of their last 4 games. I like Atlanta more than any of these guys. But if it had to be one of these 3, it would be Indy for me. Atlanta stinks. Tampa Bay is not much better. Indianapolis stinks too, but they have great matchups, and they stink less than these other 2. But they also, you'd have to have a week 15, because their week 15 matchup is not pretty. Droid 209. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, my guy. Start 2 flex and 1 QB. Jacoby Myers, T. Higgins, Ladd, or LaPorta. You got to go T. And in a is it full PPR? I'm trying to find the scoring settings here. I lean, if it's PPR or even half PPR, Myers against the Bucs is just too juicy. I would have to go him here. Plus the rest with Ladd. You also have Kupp and Lamb as my wide receivers, and that I'm not certain. So, yeah, what's good about that, too, is, like, Lamb plays on Monday night. Ladd is on Sunday night. If either one looks sketchy, you can go with the other guy, too. So, I'm definitely going T. Higgins, though. He's locked in. I'll tell you, he's actually my favorite of all the receivers you have here. And then I'm definitely going to play Jacoby Myers against the Bucs. I love Cooper Kupp. And then, yeah, one of Lamb or Ladd, boom, we're good. And Caleb, Sam I Am, or Nerdy Purdy. If Sam I Am is Sam Darnold, I love all the QB names, Droid, but I just want to make sure I get it right. If that's Sam Darnold, I play Sam Darnold. If not, I go Nerdy Purdy. Frazier, what's going on from Scotland over there? Pollard, Tracy, or McConkey in the flex this week. Tracy's touches becoming concerning despite the talent. No, I think they wanted to send him a lesson with the fumbles. They played Singletary a little bit early, and then it became Tracy again. Tracy was doing what Tracy does. I do have Pollard the highest of these guys, though. You got Jacksonville on the docket. Like, they are just a great matchup overall. So I do have him slightly higher than Tyron Tracy. 1 spot, in fact, higher than Tyron Tracy. But I'm not overly concerned there. Great options, though, Frazier, to have those 3 to choose from. But I'm going Pollard. Ross H. What up, Wolf? What's going on, Ross? Start 2 wide receivers, Judy, Reed, Shakir, and Jennings, and start 2 running backs. So with the receivers, let's start there. I'm definitely going Reed tonight. Get him on in there. And then I believe I'd go Judy of these other 3, especially if Tillman sits. But even if he doesn't, it seems like Judy has become that clear number 1 here. And then the 2 running backs, Jacobs, Garendo, Tracy. I do go Jacobs tonight, no doubt about it. I know the matchup looks tough on paper. But again, we talked about that earlier, Ross H. 95% of the inside the 5 touches these last 6 weeks. 20 or more fantasy points in 5 of the last 6. I know Detroit was the one time he didn't. This is a different Detroit defense. They are banged up all across the D-line, all across the linebacking core. Jacobs is getting in the end zone. So I'm definitely going Jacobs. And I do personally play Tracy over Garendo. That's a close one. It's definitely tougher. But you have to lock in Jacobs and Reed tonight. And then, yeah, again, I would go Judy, and I'd probably go Tracy myself over that. New Orleans is a great matchup, too, for the running backs. Why start Watson? Asked Sabrina. Now, he had a whole segment on that earlier on the stream, but if you're coming in late, Sabrina, the main takeaway was with Romeo Doubs out of the lineup last week, we had a season-high 93% snaps, 90 let me get the stats right. I have them on my notes here, so let me just make sure I find them. 90.7% of the snaps. No, sorry. That is Wicks. 94% of the snaps, 82% of the routes, both season highs for Watson. I know it was only 4 targets, a measly 12%, but even on just 12% of the targets, he racked up 67 yards, that big play. And the big thing was 31.3 average depth of targets and 49% of the air yards. against a defense that's giving up the most yards to wide receivers. It just feels like a ripe Christian Watson blow-up type of game. So, yeah, I like playing him tonight, assuming depends on your other options, of course. But, yeah, he's got a lot lined up for him. I have to start 3 tight ends. What, dude? Why? McConkey sits. But if he plays, who sits? Ingram, Otten, or Pitts? Pitts? Come on, dudes. You know I'm going to say Pitts. Why are you even asking that one? Pitts sucks. You don't have to start Pitts. Play Parker Washington or something better. You don't play Pitts. DJ Moore or Debo? Thank you from John B. the G. It's definitely 110% DJ Moore as long as he's playing, but it does seem like there's a little bit of risk now that he could miss this one. Tracy or Garendo for Rico Vargas? Already had this question a couple times, and I am leaning Tracy. A lot to like about Garendo, a lot of upside to his prospects. Such a huge size speed freak, but I think it's one of those situations. I look at it where it's like, if Garendo comes and does what Tracy has just been doing nearly every week since he became a starter, we'd be stoked. So why not go with the guy that's doing it every week in a great matchup already too? So yeah, I'm going to go Tracy there, Rico. What up, Omar? Playoffs are upon us again. They are indeed the best time and the worst time of the year, but the best time, hopefully, as long as we make those finals. Full PPR, Tucker Kraft tonight or Will Dissly with possibly no Ladd? I know that's very tempting. Is Will Dissly really going to become the one that benefits and becomes the target? I'm good, I guess. I'd probably just play Tucker Kraft. It is close enough, though. You really could, I guess, wait it out. But I don't want to be stuck with Dissly and Ladd plays. Dissly stinks these last couple of weeks. I go Tucker Kraft, Omar. Giuseppe Russo. Flex PPR, Devontae Adams, Chuba Hubbard, Jamo, or Thielen. I'm going to go Devontae Adams for that one, Giuseppe Russo, over Jamo just slightly myself. There's Tunes on the driver's seat there, reminding me that Manny, always coming in with your super chats. Thank you so much, Manny, for your consistent support of the show. The reason we can keep these lights on, because of support like you. Purdy, Love, wide receiver too. So I would go Love over Purdy at quarterback. I know it's not the best of matchups on paper, 25th in terms of points allowed, but banged up defense here. I think this, again, 51.5 point over-under. I'll take the quarterbacks involved in that game, no doubt about it. Purdy against Chicago, meanwhile, tough matchup there. So give me Love, no doubt. And then your wide receiver 2. Wad, which I imagine is Ladd or D-Hop. And to me, that's clearly Ladd as long as he's in. Now, we have to, of course, track that, Manny, because he got banged up. He's quote-unquote questionable. I think he plays. I think he's a smash. The good news for you, though, Manny, is he's facing D-Hop. So it's a Sunday night game, and for most people, that means if we don't have clarity on Ladd, we're going to have to get something else in there because the backup plans are tough to come by. You, though, Manny, have a great backup plan. If Ladd doesn't play, okay, I go to D-Hop, who's a good option in his own right. Ladd's just a great option should he be playing. He's been absolutely cooking lately, so I'd love to have him in my lineup. And then Dissly or Johnson. So I imagine that's Juwan Johnson. And again, we've talked about him a couple times. Love the season-high routes, the season-high snaps, season-high targets all last week. Fun trivia fact, the highest scoring tight end in the fantasy playoffs last year was Juwan Johnson. And now Taysom Hill knocked out, we're talking about 17 touches? I don't even remember. 2 weeks ago, it was either 14 or 17. I don't know why both those numbers stick out, but it was one of them. And then last week, 10 touches for Taysom Hill. That's a huge volume sponge there. And now removed. So I like going Juwan Johnson for that one, Manny. Unless the only world I would change that is if we do get Ladd ruled out early. Then maybe Dissly does get a little bit more meaningful volume. All righty. Thank you, guys. That wraps up the super chat. Thank you so much again, Manny, for consistently supporting your boy. PPR, Kraft or Dissly? I'm going Kraft. We already had that one a few times. Or should I pick up Juwan or Calcaterra? Not Calcaterra. I mean, I get the stacking intrigue, but I'm going to go Tucker Kraft there. And I do like Juwan Johnson, as you've heard a few times, Jay Stacks, but I like Kraft a little bit more. Assuming Tillman's out, where do you rank Eli Moore as a flex play this week? Asked Luis Perez. I've been wide receiver 40. I ranked it as if Tillman would be out. So definitely a viable flex. Very much a viable flex for sure. If it was in Pittsburgh, a tough matchup, I'd be even higher. But Eli Moore plays a lot of slot snaps where that defense does struggle. Kyler or Lovebirds? What have you been texting, Kyler or Love? I'm going to call them Lovebirds. I'm going Lovebirds, Kyle Tunes. Jordan Love and Lovebirds. You definitely have been hitting that green on the snow day. I respect it. You should be. Good stuff, Tunes. But yeah, I'm going Love over Kyler. I'm not a Kyler guy. Haven't really ever been. I liked a little bit of him this preseason, and then you have those glimpses where you're like, oh man, this guy really just kills it. But he's just been so mediocre. He's the quarterback 5 on Fantasy Pros. I don't get it. 5, 29, 11, and 17 the last 4. You know, he had that nice stretch of like 22, 21, 25. Just doesn't look that good right now. And not really running very often. He had 48 rush yards last week, so I guess I take that back. But even with that, 5 points bang, that means you only had 12 passing. So if you don't get a nice scramble there, you're in trouble. So, I'm going to go Kyler Love. I'm going to go Love over Kyler, my guy, Tunes. We're at 971. Guys, let's hit 1,000. A random 3:30 stream on a Thursday, and the folks are still suiting up here. Love it. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. I was like, I'll go live at 3:30. It's week 14. I got to at least say I did something and help as many people that are willing to show up. And boom, 1,000 of you here are still joining me. So greatly appreciated, guys. That's so kind and so motivating that you guys would show up at a random 3:30 stream. Again, it's my brother's birthday, so I had to go early, but I did want to make sure. It's week 14, do or die time for a lot of you, getting ready for the playoffs for some others. Big week, and I'm so happy to see that you guys are still willing to come get your questions answered at any given time. I'll be live at 5:30 a.m. No, nothing crazy like that, but hey, nearly 1,000 of you here. Maybe we'll get there. That thumbs up button or that heart button would greatly help us. And of course, if you're new, we'd love to have you. Kevin, I don't recognize your name. Please subscribe. We'd love to have you guys join the Wolfpack as we make our climb towards 5K. Don't think we'll get there this season, but hey, you never know. Miracles can happen. Let's go. Let's keep answering your questions, though. But thank you again so much for being here, guys. And so many super chats, too, on a random Thursday afternoon. Greatly appreciate it. Kevin Roduck, which one do I sit for a must-win playoff spot? Let's get it. Watson, NWI, Pacheco, or Garrett Wilson? I play Watson tonight. I go for the blow-up. I know it's boom or bust. It scares me, too, but so is NWI. I got to play Garrett Wilson. I probably sit Pacheco, Kevin. I don't love it, but like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were here with us. I see how the Chiefs operate. Let's rest Travis Kelce last year till the playoffs hit, and then we unleash him. They have no incentive with Hunt playing good enough to get them wins until they lose some games. I just think they're going to keep Pacheco on ice and then get ready to unload him in the playoffs. Maybe they ramp him up. Maybe we get an 80% touch day, but for me, Pacheco's on my bench till I see it. These 3 receivers, NWI against Jacksonville, the streak shouldn't continue, and yet he gets the best matchup that wide receivers could ask for. Garrett Wilson, just too damn talented. Can't bench him. And then Watson, I love it. We've talked about him at length already tonight, but again, with no Romeo Doubs, best route share, best snap share, 50% of the air yards nearly last week. I'm playing him. I'm rolling him out tonight. Kyle Tunes, if McConkey sits, who do you go with? Jennings, Waddle, Watson, Tillman. Well, then you got Tillman, who's probably not going to play. So we got to – what's tough about this one, too, is we don't know, and Watson plays tonight. Watson's a good fill-in, but he'd be a great fill-in for you if you played on Monday night. You'd have to decide today. And I think you have good enough options to probably wait this one out. I would ideally go – I like Tillman a lot. He's a baller. But I'm probably going to go Jalen Waddle if McConkey sits. CD, Neighbors, and Pollard for Alejandro Corona. Full PPR. 1 wide receiver spot, 1 flex. We got to bench one of them. Oh, man. I love the Pollard at Jacksonville matchup. That's a juicy one. Seems like the easy bench because you got 2 absolute alphas. But Neighbors is just kind of stunk. Great matchup against New Orleans, though. As soon as you bench him, is going to be the 10-catch, 100-yard TD day. I might bench CD here. He's banged up, but a great Cincy matchup, too. I guess I got to bench Pollard. You got 2 good of wide receivers, especially with the full PPR setting, Alejandro. And with Tajay Spears back, nibbling into the Pollard cheese. like all three of these options a lot, but I'm probably going to go, unless we get news that like CD's banged up, I'm going to go the 2 wide receivers there. How do you think Tuck this week? Pick Hawk or Dalton K? I don't know what you're asking, Ed, but I like Hawkinson more than Dalton Kincaid. By a good stretch there. I like Hawkinson the most. If that meant like Tucker Kraft is in that question as well, I still like Hawkinson the most. Jay Stacks, you don't think Vidal could be a viable option? Consider Gus didn't dominate. I like Vidal, but he didn't. Gus is still the lead guy. Chiefs are the hardest matchup for running backs. Do I think Vidal could be viable in a given week? Yeah, but not this week. I don't mind stashing him. And similar to the other guys we talked about, Jay Stacks, like there's certainly contingency upside to Vidal. He could just outplay Gus and take over. Gus could get hurt. I like having Vidal on my bench. I do not like playing him in the hardest matchup for running backs by a mile this year, though. Jaws Howell, indeed. Ahoo, let's go, baby. Any lean on Kraft or Muth? Not really. I mean, Muth coming off a great week. I do lean Tucker Kraft, but I'll tell you, they're my 11 and 12 Jaws. So clearly, no. It's more so, I guess, one, Tucker Kraft, coming off a very nice, sturdy role with no Doubs. Not, again, different positions, but just more of a target share there because of him out. Detroit, the toughest matchup for tight ends, but they're banged up, so I'm not going to put too much stock into that. Yeah, I'm going to go Tucker Kraft here, just very slightly over the Muth. Luis Perez, trust Braylon if Hall is out, running back 1 or 2. I mean, I'd play him. It depends who your other options are, but I'd look at him as like a probably running back 20 to 25 range is where I think he'd slot in because the environment isn't as good as we expected. The line isn't nearly as good as we hoped. And the whole Rodgers stinks, dumpster fire. But I still think Braylon Allen is talented enough. But now it looks like Isaiah Davis would start to nibble in a little bit too. So he's not a must start. He's not a running back 1, but a running back 2-ish. Sure, yeah, I can give him that. It just depends who your other options are. Pick 2 full PPR for Ryan Ifrig. CD Connor or London? I think I'm benching. Oh, man, another good one, Ryan. Like 3 great options here. And good matchups across the board from all. I think gun to my head, like I think London's the one I honestly feel the best about. I should love CD against Cincy. And I do, but I think London's safer. And then, I mean, Connor's in a good spot too. Minnesota giving up the most points to wide receivers. I'd probably bench Connor. I think the 2 receivers have too good of matchups, whereas Minnesota is very good against the run, like a bottom 3 matchups. So I'll play the matchups here, and I'll bench Connor, especially when you got the full PPR setting there to Ryan Ifrig. Great options, though. Connor on the bench is tough, but yeah, that's what I would do. Sam Elniger. Full PPR. Need to win and put up as many points as I can. Need 1 receiver and 1 flex. Thomas Jr., Shakir, Debo, Devonta Smith, Garendo, and Dowdle. So I normally would probably say Dowdle's one of the options, but you need as many points as you can get. And he's more of the high floor, low ceiling type of guy. So I'm going Thomas Jr., I'm going Garendo. I'm going for the upside there, Sam. And those are the 2 guys I see in that list that can truly light it up. Not the safest options, but the highest ceiling ones. Victoria Elizabeth, Levis or Love? I know Levis gets the Jags. I know it's the best matchup for quarterbacks. We're talking about Will Levis. I'm going Jordan Love 10 out of 10 times, Victoria. No way I'm going Levis. And could he outscore Love this week? Sure. The matchup is definitely ripe enough. He's playing okay enough. It sure could happen, but I don't want my fantasy fortunes in Will Levis's arm right now. No way. Even with the good matchup. Victor Bonifati, Christian Watson, Eli Moore, Dunze. I'm going to go Watson. I'll light it up today and get that in there. Get yourself some Thursday night action, baby. Neighbors or Christian Watson? Oh, I got to go Christian Watson. I mean, I could go Neighbors there. I know I like Christian Watson. I know I've hyped him up. Malik Neighbors, though, I know it's been a little underwhelming, yet you got New Orleans. You got so much talent. You got 10 targets coming. I got to go Neighbors. The volume's just too damn good. And I think it's going to handle it big time. We got Justin Herbert or Russell. I would go Herbert. I like Herbert in that game. I feel like he always kind of rises to the occasion against Kansas City. He'll get pushed to throw it. Same question every week, Michael DeGangi. PPR. Hopefully I didn't skip you this time. Need one. TJ Hawkinson, Shakir, Addison, or Hopkins. I'm trying to secure the 1 seed. Yeah, and this one, you should save this in a note so you can just copy and paste it every single week, Michael. Maybe you already have. I like it. It is full PPR. God. Every week it's just like, I don't know. They're all very similar. They're all cool. They're all cool. Cool guys. Cool as Shakir. Real nice hang. I don't know. I like Shakir, but then they've been really good. The Rams, like sneaky against slot receivers. They're much better against the slot and outside receivers, which is usually the reverse that we see. You got Addison in a great spot against Atlanta. I think I'm going to go for Addison and I think I often go him and it's just been boom or bust. 1 week he'll get you 30, 1 week he'll get you 2. But I love Addison. I really do. And I like that Atlanta matchup. So I'm going to go with Jordan Addison. Yeah, he even had 7 last week in full PPR at 9. So the floor is fine. Yeah. I'm going to go Addison there, Michael. Manny, love the channel, bro. Hey, thank you so much, Manny. You're always supporting your guy, and I greatly appreciate it. You meant Waddle. Okay. I was wondering. I was like, so this was the super chat we had to answer there. So Wad or D-Hop. That does change things a little bit here. The Wad. I've never heard Waddle called the Wad before, Manny. Time for everything. Just calling him the Wad, I don't think I can put him in my lineup now. Like, I don't want the Wad in my lineup. No, I have Hopkins higher as well. He's been cooking Hopkins lately with 9 targets last week, 13 points, 15 points the week before. I like Hopkins. Him and they're making a lot of chemistry these days. And Nico on by. Get through and get that man back because he is an absolute beast. Akavelli, trade question. Would you trade away Jameson Williams for, there we go. I was going to say, I don't know, maybe. Would you trade away Jameson for Judy? Yes. PPR, this is PPR. So not more context. The rest of the year, I'd rather have Judy. Dynasty-wise, I probably prefer Jameson. I mean, man, if you told me Cleveland was going to commit to Judy and Jameis Winston, rather, for the rest of their careers, Judy would be like a top 5 dynasty wide receiver right now. But he's gotten it done with nobody else throughout his career. So I'd rather bet on the talent here. I know Judy was a great prospect too, but I see more out of Jameson. I love the line situation. I'm going to lean Jameson, but that's a really good question. That's a really tough one. That green on the snow day. Yeah. Moderator Tunes over there, definitely a little bit baked up, I think, man. Definitely got to get that green in on a snow day, no doubt about it. As a teacher, I fully support that one. You get the day off, why not? And I got to get some in with my brother's birthday later tonight too. Can't wait to see my nephews. I love them to death. They're the best. Hopefully Sam's not too baked. Domas Medina, Sit One, Rico, Tracy, Gorendo, Gracias Lobo. I gotta go. Oh, man. The more I've talked about Gorendo this show, the more I'm like, I really want him in my lineup. He kind of electrifies me every time I talk about him. So I'm probably going to sit Rico here, Tomas, is where I'm leaning. It's safer than Gorendo, but I feel more electricity when I think about Gorendo, huh? Emiliano Gonzalez. So yeah, I'm going to pull up my rankings too, because I've been a couple times, bumping LaPorta up a little bit, bumping Gorendo up a little bit. I want to make sure, again, that I pump out these rankings over at roasteryjournal.com that actually represent what I'm talking about. Kyler or Baker? Crazy for wanting to start Kraft, or should I pick up Disley or Freiermuth? So I'd rather have Kraft than either of those guys. For the quarterback question, I go Baker very easily over Kyler. I don't trust Kyler at all. Ertz is a very fine tight end. He's not amazing, but he's been rock solid lately. I think he scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. So I like Ertz. No issue there. I'm bumping up Gorendo, by the way. Over Dowdle should be below Aaron Jones, too. Yeah, okay. So Garendo now up to running back 17 for me and could keep rising. Could keep rising. But yeah, I'm going to go Kraft and I'm going to go Baker is how I feel about these ones. My watch is telling me to walk because I'm a fat piece of dirt. I'm not going to swear. No swearing anymore. Emiliano Gonzalez. Crazy for considering Myers with Evans, CD, and Cup. Emiliano, not crazy because that Tampa Bay matchup is so juicy, but would I do it myself? No. No, I would not. So I'd have to play Evans, CD, and Cup. Now, if CD is trending the wrong way, then yeah, we could reconsider it. But I gotta go. I gotta go. Those three studs for sure. We got 1,100 of you here, Wolfpack. I got another about half hour or so before I have to head out to this party. So keep those questions coming, and please do consider. I've seen a lot of new names here. Love to see it. Maybe it's that new stream time, but hey, let's go. Thank you guys so much. However you found me, you're here, and I'd love you guys to be around for the long term. Hit that sub button. We go live multiple times a week to answer your questions, and I'd love to have you guys subbing, hitting that alert, and following, of course, at RotoStreetWolf is where you can find me over on Twitter. Thank you again so much for being here. Again, random Thursday, 3:30 o'clock. I want to just toss it out there and see who shows up because I couldn't do the usual show time, normally 6:30. And boom, you guys still show up in droves. You guys are awesome. And thanks again so much for spending your time. And if you enjoy it, please do hit that heart or thumbs up button. That's the reason so many new people can find us. We keep growing that pack, baby, and I greatly appreciate it. He has the groin, Lewis, but he's always had a groin. He always has something at practice, and I just don't even pay attention to it until I have to. If he misses time, then it'll force me to, but I'm not worried, Lewis. Ron Garcia, would you drop Ingram for Otten, Gary, Kraft, or Ferguson? Nope. I would say Ingram above all those guys. Don't know who Gary, I think he meant Gray. Noah Gray is my guess. And no, I wouldn't for any of those four. Joe Zerzit. Zerzit, what a name. Zerzit. Tucker Kraft or Hawk this week. Doubs is out and Packers will be passing a lot, which is why I'm considering. I like Hawkinson still. I do get your narrative there. I think it makes sense. The Lions have also defended tight ends very, very well. So I'm a little bit nervous for him there. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I prefer Hawkinson myself, though. Ron Garcia, would you drop Debo for BTJ, Jonnu, or Judy? Honestly, Ron, it must be one of those 8-team league, something like that. Yes, I'd rather have any of those three. I'd probably pick up BTJ myself, but if you need a tight end, Jonnu is a top 5 guy rest of the year. I want any of those three over Debo. Truly, I do. I do think Debo does benefit from McCaffrey being out. I think we're going to see a couple big games here and there. I can't trust that man as far as I can throw him right now. I got Evans and Ladd in my lineup, both questionable. Tyreek is my other. He's also questionable. Tommy Taluga. I always love that name. I've seen you pop up before, and I always think, get the cowboy collar on. Tommy Taluga up the middle, whether you're a fullback, linebacker, playing both ways. Tommy Taluga up the gut. I got Evans and Ladd in my lineup, both questionable. Tyreek is my other receiver. Should I start Watson tonight and flex Ladd or Evans on Sunday? No, you got a lot of questionable here. I think all of them are going to end up playing. I think you're fine. Watson could really have a big day, but I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, if I guess the what needs to be included, it looks like Tommy, I see you asking another question down there. So, okay, if one of these guys sits and you don't play Watson, who's the next man up? That's more important to know at this point. Because for right now, I like Watson tonight, not enough to sit Evans, Ladd, and Tyreek. Because if any of those three play, and if all three play, they're all, and I expect all three to play too. And I think they're all great starts. They're all top 15 wide receivers in my rankings, whereas Watson's more like a fringe top 36. So if your backup option is not too far back, I like waiting it out for those three. But let me know, full back up the middle, Tommy Taluga, what I can't say it without laughing. Tommy Taluga up the gut. Let me know who your next backup plan would be. Jay Bleasy, if Brees doesn't play, would you start Braylon versus tough Miami D? Yeah, oh yeah, over Sincere McCormick. Come on. Yes, I'd go Braylon Allen. The man is a beast, and I know it's a tough Miami D. Not a tough run D. It's a very middle-of-the-road run D. And Braylon as a starter over Sincere, who's now, Madison's going to come back. And, yeah, McCormick, I shouldn't have scoffed that hard. He's looked good. But, yes, 10 out of 10 times, if Braylon is the starter, I am playing him over Sincere McCormick. Kranashaw, Corrado, where's your food question, man? Just coming in here without an intro, a food question? What are we doing? Metcalf or Jennings? Two of the sketchier plays this week. Two talents I love and matchups I hate. I think I'm leaning Metcalf, though. Very, very slightly, assuming he's healthy and in. Baker, Geno, Kyler, Jameis, 6-point pass touchdown. I would go Baker. Jameis, very close, Krana. I'm going Baker or Jameis over either of the other two. 6-point pass touchdowns make me even closer to Jameis here. But yeah, Baker's just been too rock solid all year, whereas Jameis is cooking. Tough matchup against the Steelers. This could be the brick wall moment. But I do love Jameis this week. I really do. J1364. Hi, bud. Full PPR. Hawk or Fergie? I'm going Hawk. I think both these guys benefit from the full PPR, but one, we don't even know if Fergie's playing. It's a great matchup if he does, but I still like Hawkinson. Atlanta, not a good defense at all. And neither is Cincy, but better matchup, two pretty equal matchups. I'll go with the talent of Hawkinson and a track record. Do I go with Kraft or Ferguson and Hawkinson or Disley? So I wonder if these are two different leagues. I would go Kraft over Ferguson. I would go Hawkinson over Disley. I would go Hawkinson over Kraft. I would rank these guys Hawkinson, then Kraft, then Ferguson, then Disley. It's how I play that one, Tommy Taluga. Would you start Wicks or Wandale? I'd start Wicks. I'd go for the blow up here, Nicholas. Wandale, just like the ceiling's always been capped, but the floor is now kind of bottoming out. He's not getting the 15 layup targets anymore. So yeah, I'm going Wicks. Keep saying smash spot for Jacoby and Bowers. Smash spot for O'Connell. Yeah, it's not a bad one. I'd stream him. I don't want to stream him necessarily. I'd rather have Jameis. There's guys that are available that I'd rather play, but yeah. There is a world, though, too, where like those guys can smash Lewis. And the quarterback still doesn't. We see it with Stafford is a good example of like Puka has a top 10 week and Kupp has a top 7 week, but it's more so they caught like 10 balls for 120 yards, and then Bowers catches 11 balls for 97. But neither of them score touchdowns, and O'Connell gets to 270 scoreless yards, and he's just not that great, So yes, it's a great matchup for O'Connell. He could be a good streamer. He had 340 yards last time out. I see it all. But I think Jacoby and Bowers can smash, and O'Connell still can be mediocre. So it's not a must play by any means. But yes, it doesn't hurt him that all these other guys are in great spots. And yeah, so Tommy, you let us know you have Eli Moore. Him and Watson are very similar for me. I do prefer Watson, but they're close enough that I'd rather keep my shot at those 3 wide receivers being healthy. Apex, what up? Good to see you, brother. Warren Cooper or Dunze, full PPR. I kind of like Cooper to break out this week. I think like he smashes the Rams for some reason. I'm going Cooper. Skelly Rowe, first-time watcher, enjoying the show. Hey, hell yeah. I appreciate you joining. Hopefully, it looks like you're on Twitter, X, whatever you call it these days. Hit that follow button if you don't already. Skelly Rowe would be happy to have you for future streams. Of course, we always will take you over at YouTube subs as well if you like that. LaPorta or Hawkinson. Now we're getting closer. Now we're getting warmer. Still, we're getting a lot of Hawkinson questions, and maybe I need to dive in a little bit on Hawkinson real quick because I keep just being like, Hawkinson. It's TJ Hawkinson. We're talking about the tight end 2 of last year that's rounding into form, looking better and better by the week, and not a bad matchup against Atlanta. I know last week was a little bit of a dud, 6 targets, 3 catches, 28 yards. Yeah, dud. But 9-7, 114 the week before, I just like TJ. I don't know. I always have loved Hawkinson. LaPorta, again, we talked about him a few times, Skelly Rowe. 6 targets in 3 straight games, 9 end zone targets in the last 5 games. Great ceiling. Definitely a higher ceiling than Hawkinson, I'd say, given the touchdown scoring. But especially if you're getting PPR points, you're getting receptions, I like Hawkinson a little bit more. Very close, though. You are. It's a top one, Skelly. It really is. Wandale or Knicks for pick Nick. I'm going Wicks. I think I just answered that one for you. Yeah, so yeah, Twitter chat does work. There you go. I see you down here. And I was like, I think I just answered that exact question. That's a kind of random one to have two of those. Sorry for the long post-playoff time. Different league for Dylan Fink. Full PPR, 1 QB, Carr, AOC, or Rush. This is one where I would go Aiden O'Connell right there. We just talked about him at length, Dylan, so you probably saw that. But the Bucs matchup is a great one. Juwan, Kincaid, Muth, or Komet. I like Muth there for the tight end, I think. Juwan is very, very close, though. Right nipping on his heels there. But I like Freiermuth the most there. Especially if Jameis Winston can push them there too. And we need two receivers, Jamo, Ikini, or Smitty. Smitty being Devonta Smith, I imagine. I'm going to go Jamo tonight. I'm going to lock him in. Let's play him. And then Smith seems like he's trending the right way, and I probably would go him if he's in. And I mean, the Kenny Westbrook show has been crazy. Again, 8 touchdowns on 20 catches, 8 touchdowns since week 6, like, most in the league in that span. And wide receiver 8 since Hopkins got traded. He's been killing it. I don't know. It's just so fluky. But of these flexes, I'd go Shakir and then QB, Carr, Levis, AOC, Rush. I would go AOC again. Maybe Levis is entering that conversation, but that's right. Thanks so much. Even Wicks, if I have Jayden Reed. Ooh, maybe not. And then the other thing too, Picnic, is if Malik Neighbors, if this groin thing ends up being a little more serious, Wan'Dale becomes an absolute smash, right? So I guess if you're already loaded up on Reed, maybe I'd pivot. It is a good enough matchup, though, where both these guys could get there. If it's 51.5 hits, like, that's a good chance both do. But I also like Watson tonight. It's a lot of those. I might not overload it. I might go for Wan'Dale. Especially if it's a full PPR there, I think I would lean there. Best playoff defense, Ravens or Broncos and Vikings or Cardinals this week. So the best playoff defense is the Vikings. If this is the same league, Vikings, you got great week 15, great week 16, then you find a week 17. I like my favorite pairing, the nuts in defense, for my opinion, is having the Vikings, and then you have the Chargers for week 17 versus the Pats. I think it doesn't get much better than that. Buffalo, also out there in a lot of leagues, getting the Jets at home, Pats in week 16. I like them a lot too. So if this is all the same league, I would roll with the Vikings and then see if you could somehow nab a nice week 17 one to complement them. They get the Packers in week 17. I don't love that. But otherwise, good matchups for the number 1 scoring defense of the year. But if these are two different leagues, so again, go Vikings again this week, and not only just this week, but for the playoffs over the Cardinals. Cardinals are a great playoff defense too, by the way. Good matchups for them. And then when it comes down to Ravens or Broncos, I like the Ravens for week 15. You got the Giants. This is the time of year, Tommy, where it makes sense to carry two defenses. I'd like to play the Ravens against the Giants next week. I think that's a smash. But if I had only room for one, it would be the Broncos, the number 2 defense. You're talking about the Vikings, the number 1 defense, the Broncos, the number 2 defense. I'm just going to keep riding that out, baby. The Broncos schedule isn't the best, but the Ravens schedule after the Giants game sucks too. So I don't want the Ravens after this week, or rather week 15. Yeah, no need for apology, Picnic. I get it. You got it. Wicks or Watson? I do prefer Watson, Simon. Higher route share, higher snap share. 49% of the air yards last week. 31 average up the targets. Just all the upside points to Watson. The steadier roll points to Watson. Wicks has a huge ceiling too. It really is close to a coin flip. Which one blows up, if either. I lean Watson as the guy, just steadier volume, in my opinion. Seattle defense or Buffalo? Also, Otten or Johnson. So for the defense, a lot of these defensive questions, Tyler, you might notice I'm answering sure for maybe this week. It's honestly Buffalo either way. But the added benefit of Buffalo is they are a phenomenal playoff defense. Next week against Lions, obviously not. You got to have a week 15 streamer. Tons of great options next week for week 15. We have a whole video on it. Go check that one out. But yeah, week 16, Patriots. Week 17, you got the Jets at home. Of course, you got to keep winning and get there, but that's the added benefit. Like, as if Seattle and Buffalo were close, and to me, they're not, honestly, I just try that Buffalo, the number 5 in points per game this year. But if it was close, okay, let's look at the head of the schedule. Who's the better option, in my opinion? And that's where I lean. All righty. And yeah, Tunes, thank you again so much for your help moderating. Definitely appreciate that, jumping on without any type of prompting. Thank you so much. Tommy, Lamar on bye, so Caleb or Levis? I'll go Caleb there. I just don't trust Levis. I don't trust Caleb really either, but he's been great these last couple of weeks, and the coordinator change seems to be really helping him. If DJ Moore is out, we'd have to revisit that one, Tommy. Aubrey or McManus? I like Aubrey there, Simon. Against Cincy, they should have no problem moving that ball. Dome game. Let's go. Thanks. Yeah, full PPR, and I have Reed. Also, def going to tune into your socials when I can. You def know. Hey, thank you. I do my best, Picnic. I mean, everybody out here is doing their best to make educated guesses. But as long as I can entertain you and hopefully give you some information that helps you make your choices, that's the goal. So I appreciate you tuning in. Hit that sub. And that goes for all 1,200 of you here. I can't believe it. The random 3:30 stream, and we got one of our better show outs of the season. Thank you guys so much. Seen a lot of new names. Again, would love to have you guys subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy what you've heard at any point, that thumbs up button, that heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, all that stuff is so greatly appreciated. Defense question is this week. Yes. So again, I know it's a 1 week thing, but then you also want to think ahead, Tyler, as well when you're doing these things. So I go Buffalo either way for the 1 week, and then you have the added bonus if they're a good playoff defense too. Tim Cox, Jennings, Debo, D. Smith, C. Watson, need 2. Oh, man, I'm in that tough spot too, Tim, where I have both Jennings and Debo, and I don't want to play them both at this point. But I don't like D. Smith very much right now, if he's even playing. I'm leaning Jennings and Jennings and Watson is where I'm going to go with that one, Tim Cox. Just because, again, Devonta, like a guarantee to play this week. And even if he does, he's been kind of the second fiddle. What about this week? Cardinals are a smash pick. I love the Cardinals this week for their defense. They had 11 last time out against the Seahawks and ultimately 5 sacks. Now, if you're just talking from a straight up like upset position, maybe too. That's a fun toss-up game. I'm not even sure there. You're welcome, Simon. Thank you for using kind manners. Sit 1, Addison, Mooney, Njoku, LaPorta, or D. Smith, half PPR. Thank you. So I want to check on Devonta Smith. Is he a guarantee at this point? Let me double check his practice status. News practices. He's on track to play against the Panthers, and Goddard's going to be sidelined. Last 2 games out, though, had 3 and 7, but was being hampered by that hammy. Yeah, so Tim, if you're still here, it seems like D. Smith is definitely trending the right way. So I'm going to switch your answer and go to Smith and Jennings is how I would play that if I was you. And for this one, who am I sitting? That's a really tough one because I like all these guys, Armando. It comes down to LaPorta versus Devonta for me. And I'll bench LaPorta begrudgingly just because, again, 6 targets in 3 straight, 6 targets in 4 last 5, a lot of red zone options. Multi-touchdowns last week. I think he's a good bet to score tonight. But he also has been really had some brutal duds, Armando, this year. Even though it does seem to be trending the right way, I think we're getting the better LaPorta at this point. If one of these guys just completely flopped, I think it'd be him. Whereas the Smith also has a bad worst case, but they've taken their time with him. It's a bad Panthers defense. So I just love the other options. So I think LaPorta hits the bench for me, but that's very, very tough, Armando. Otten possibly without Evans is going to play. I mean, I've seen a couple things about this. So again, let me, double check this and make sure. But I would not be overly concerned with Evans right now. Tyler Sperry, hamstring calf misses practice on Thursday. We'll see what he does Friday. But as of right now, I still actually like Otten more than either of the other options either way, whether Evans is in or out, Sperry. So, yeah, I'm going Otten either way. Thanks for putting it on my radar about Evans, but, yeah, I'm going to go him either way. And that looks to be the rest of the mailbag, Wolfpack. I do have to get running anyways, so perfect timing. My rankings will be updated and up at rotostreetjournal.com. Thank you again. We did get a super chat right on my way out. And NC Firearms with your second super chat of the day, your second $5. So generous. Thank you so much. I will be sure to hit this one before I head out. So I worry about Goff a little bit. Do I stick with him or go Geno, Levis, or Carr? I'm fine pivoting off of Goff. We talked about him, NC Firearms, and how one, Packers defense 27th in points allowed to QBs. Not a great matchup. Last time out, he only had 9 against this defense. And ultimately, in his last 6 games, pretty underwhelming. 15, 9, 12, 34, 10, and 16. But then you look at it. He's at home where he's way better. He's in the dome where he's way better. No Jair Alexander really hampers this defense in that secondary. 51.5 over under. Like, I look at your options here, Geno, Levis, Carr. No. I'm gonna go Goff there. Pretty easily for me. So if you really worry about him, you always got to trust your gut. You got to listen to it. But me personally, I'm going Goff every single time over the names you're throwing out there. If you really had to pivot, I'd probably go Geno, if you hate it. But I'm going Goff myself there. Kincaid, if he plays, Wicks, Adunze, or Washington, PPR flex. Washington. Is that Malik Washington? Like, who? What Washington am I just blanking on right now? NC Firearms, please let me know, because right now nothing's coming to me. I would say what's tricky with this one, I don't love any of these options. I don't love Kincaid, whether he plays or not, and I don't really like him right now. So it's do you just roll Wicks in tonight? And I like Wicks enough, but I don't see a huge difference between Wicks and Adunze. You're looking at 2. Okay. Thomas reminded me, Parker Washington. Yeah. How did I forget that one? Thank you guys. Completely blanked on that one. So I think you have enough options here, NC Firearms, especially with a full PPR. I probably like Parker Washington the most in a full PPR. Of these, I don't know how I blanked, but we talked about him earlier. 29% target share last week, 12 targets, monster 22-point day. In general, since Kirk's been knocked out, 20.5 target share. The guy he's balling. He's playing well. So I think that's probably where I'm leaning anyways. So either way, I don't go Wicks in, and we can kind of figure out the health of these other guys, see if there's a reason. But I'm leaning Parker Washington for that one. Yeah. Thank you again, Tyler. Yeah, Parker Washington. Duh. Parker, indeed. Yes. Sorry, I completely blanked on that one, despite already talking about him today. Evan, I know, not 2 days. It's veteran. I think he's just getting rested. Either way, I like Otten more than those guys anyways, too, Tyler. But keep watching it, too. Brees and Walker also have it. So Walker's an interesting one to me. I did not know he's missed 2 straight practices. I knew Brees, but I did not know Walker. Thank you for that update, Tyler. Yeah, it's Charbonnet, potential smash spot, should he be in. Alrighty, guys. And thank you, NC Firearms, again, for that super chat. Again, I go Goff. I go Parker Washington is how I'm playing that one in a full PPR. Thanks, Roto. You're the man. Hey, you're the man, NC Firearms. Guys, thank you so much. These updated rankings will yet again be at rotostreetjournal.com, pumping out one update based on all the questions we answered today and how it helped me guide. But on your way out, one last thumbs up, one last heart, and of course, a subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed what you're hearing. We'd love to have you here long-term. A lot of new names out there today. And again, rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find my rankings and all of our other great content. So many phenomenal writers. Love it. I'm so proud of the product we put out. So check out rotostreetjournal.com. In a world full of fancy sheep, guys, be the wolf. Best of luck here in week 14. Let's get it, baby. See you guys Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Can't wait.